Welcome to Pigeon Healthy. You have a bird that was winning races last season. Top 10 finishes, fast velocities, reliable homing. You're excited for this season. You train the bird the same way, feed the same diet, do everything identical to last year. But this season the bird is different. It's coming home late. It's getting lost on training tosses. It used to lead the group home and now it arrives with the tail end. Race after race, disappointing result. You check the bird. It looks healthy. Weight is fine. No obvious illness. Feathers look decent. You're confused and frustrated because you can't find anything wrong, yet clearly something is wrong. This happens constantly in racing lofts and most keepers never figure out the real cause. They blame the weather, bad luck, getting caught in a storm, competition from other birds. Sometimes those explanations are true. But very often there are real, identifiable, fixable causes behind performance collapse that nobody talks about because they're subtle, they don't show up in basic health checks, and they require understanding pigeon physiology at a deeper level than most keepers operate. Today I'm going to expose the hidden causes of racing performance collapse, the physiological, nutritional, psychological, and management factors that destroy performance in birds that appear perfectly healthy. And I'm going to give you a systematic diagnostic approach to identify which factor is affecting your birds and exactly what to do about it. Let's start with subclinical infections, meaning infections that are present and affecting performance but not causing obvious symptoms. This is the #1 hidden cause of performance collapse and it's massively underdiagnosed. A bird with subclinical Mycoplasma infection doesn't sneeze obviously. It doesn't have thick nasal discharge. It looks normal. But the Mycoplasma is present in the respiratory tract, causing low-grade inflammation that reduces respiratory efficiency by 10 to 20%. In a healthy bird, oxygen exchange in the lungs is near 100% efficient. With subclinical Mycoplasma, it drops to 80 or 85%. That reduction doesn't matter when the bird is sitting in the loft. But during a 200-kilometer race requiring sustained maximum effort for 6 to 8 hours, that 10 to 15% respiratory inefficiency is catastrophic. The bird runs out of aerobic capacity early, switches to anaerobic metabolism, accumulates lactic acid, and performance collapses. The bird comes home, looks tired, rests, and by the next day looks completely normal again. The keeper thinks it was an off day or bad luck. But the next race, same thing. The subclinical Mycoplasma is consistently robbing performance but never causing obvious illness. To diagnose subclinical infections you need laboratory testing. A PCR test for Mycoplasma, chlamydia, and other common respiratory pathogens on cloacal swabs or choanal swabs will reveal infections that don't show clinical symptoms. Many veterinary labs offer comprehensive respiratory pathogen panels specifically for racing pigeons. If your racing team is underperforming and you haven't done pathogen testing, this should be your first step. Treatment of subclinical Mycoplasma requires appropriate antibiotics. Doxycycline is the traditional treatment for Mycoplasma in pigeons, given in water for 10 to 14 days. Newer options include tylosin or azithromycin. Treatment should be done outside of racing season so birds have time to clear the infection and rebuild respiratory function before important races. Many racing lofts do a routine respiratory pathogen clear at the beginning of each season before the first training toss. They treat with a broad-spectrum respiratory antibiotic course as prevention. This is controversial because of antibiotic resistance concerns, but it's common practice and does prevent subclinical infections from ruining early season performance. Subclinical PARATYPHOID is another hidden performance destroyer. Salmonella infection without obvious symptoms causes chronic low-grade intestinal inflammation, reducing nutrient absorption. The bird eats the same amount but absorbs less. Proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals are all absorbed at reduced rates. The bird is chronically undernourished at the cellular level even though it looks like it's eating and maintaining weight. This depletes energy reserves, reduces muscle recovery after races, impairs immune function, and gradually erodes performance. Testing for Salmonella by culture of fresh droppings reveals this. Treatment as described in the PARATYPHOID video eliminates it. Subclinical CANKER, Trichomonas infection at low levels, doesn't cause visible mouth lesions. But the parasites colonize the upper digestive tract and affect food processing. Birds with subclinical CANKER often have slightly reduced appetite, eat more slowly, and don't process food as efficiently. The chronic presence of the parasite also requires immune resources to manage, diverting energy from performance. Microscopic examination of fresh crop contents reveals Trichomonas organisms. Treatment with ronidazole or metronidazole eliminates them. Routine preventive canker treatment before racing season is standard practice in competitive racing lofts for exactly this reason. Now let's discuss nutritional performance limiters. Even without disease, nutritional inadequacies can systematically destroy racing performance in birds that look healthy and maintain normal weight. The first and most common is inadequate energy density. Racing requires enormous energy output. A pigeon flying 200 kilometers at race speed burns approximately 12 to 15 kilocalories per hour. A 6-hour race means 70 to 90 kilocalories burned. The bird's available energy stores at race start, primarily glycogen in muscles and liver plus mobilizable fat, must cover that expenditure. If the bird isn't fed an energy-dense diet in the days before a race, it starts the race with inadequate energy stores and runs out of fuel before completing the race. The bird slows dramatically in the final third of the race, arriving late or getting lost if it runs completely out of energy. Race preparation feeding should include high-energy foods in the 3 to 4 days before the basket. Corn is the traditional high-energy race food. It provides fast-release carbohydrate energy perfect for race day. Some keepers add small amounts of high-fat seeds like safflower or hemp in the week before racing for sustained energy release. The day before basketing, feed a moderate meal with good corn content. Don't overfeed the day before. A crop packed with undigested seed when the bird starts racing is dead weight. You want energy stored in muscles and liver as glycogen, not sitting in the crop as undigested grain. Many keepers feed a light meal the evening before basketing rather than a full meal. Electrolyte depletion is a major hidden performance factor. Racing causes massive sweat loss, or rather respiratory water loss since birds don't sweat. During flight, pigeons lose significant water and electrolytes through breathing. Sodium, potassium, chloride, and magnesium are lost. If these electrolytes aren't replaced before the race, birds start the race already slightly depleted. During the race, further losses without replacement lead to muscle cramping, fatigue, and impaired nerve function. Performance collapses in the second half of long races. The solution is electrolyte supplementation in the 2 days before basketing. Commercial electrolyte preparations for racing pigeons dissolved in drinking water replace sodium, potassium, chloride, and magnesium. Some keepers also add electrolytes to water immediately after birds return from races to speed recovery. Iron deficiency is a surprisingly common performance limiter that's almost never diagnosed. Iron is a component of hemoglobin, the molecule in red blood cells that carries oxygen. Iron deficiency anemia means red blood cells carry less oxygen per cell. The bird's muscles receive less oxygen during flight. Aerobic capacity drops. Performance suffers exactly as with subclinical respiratory infection, but through a different mechanism. Iron deficiency can develop from inadequate dietary iron, from chronic blood loss due to external parasites like red mites, from intestinal parasites causing bleeding, or from chronic bacterial infections consuming iron. The bird looks normal, maintains weight, but performs poorly. Diagnosis requires a blood test measuring packed cell volume or hematocrit, which indicates red blood cell percentage and iron levels. Many avian vets can run these tests. Treatment involves iron supplementation and addressing the underlying cause of deficiency. Iron supplements for birds are available. Correct the source of iron loss. Eliminate red mites, treat worms, and address infections. Dietary iron can be improved by feeding greens and peas, which contain iron, and avoiding feeding excessive calcium which interferes with iron absorption. Don't oversupplement iron. Excess iron is toxic and causes liver damage. Vitamin B12 deficiency also causes anemia and performance collapse through similar mechanisms. B12 is found only in animal products, so grain-fed pigeons can become borderline B12 deficient. Brewer's yeast provides B12. So does adding a small amount of dried shrimp or fish meal to the diet. B-complex supplementation in water during racing season ensures adequate B12 along with other B vitamins critical for energy metabolism. Now let's discuss muscle function and recovery. Racing performance depends on muscle power and endurance. Many performance problems relate to inadequate muscle recovery between races. When a pigeon races hard, it causes microscopic muscle damage, depletes glycogen, and accumulates metabolic waste products. Recovery requires adequate protein for muscle repair, carbohydrates to replenish glycogen, antioxidants to manage oxidative stress from intense exercise, and adequate rest time. If races are too frequent or recovery nutrition is inadequate, birds accumulate a recovery deficit. Each race leaves them slightly less recovered than before. After several races, performance has declined progressively even though the bird looks fine. Racing programs should allow at least 5 to 7 days between races for complete recovery. Some high-stress races like long-distance or difficult conditions require 10 to 14 days recovery. After a bird returns from a race, feed a recovery meal within 2 to 4 hours of return. This meal should include easily digestible protein for muscle repair, carbohydrates for glycogen replenishment, and electrolytes for rehydration. Commercial recovery feeds for racing pigeons address these needs. Some keepers add amino acid supplements to post-race water. Branched-chain amino acids, leucine, isoleucine, and valine, are particularly important for muscle recovery. They're found in quality protein supplements and support rapid muscle repair. Antioxidant supplementation during racing season reduces oxidative damage from intense exercise. Vitamin E, vitamin C, and selenium all function as antioxidants. Racing birds have higher antioxidant requirements than maintenance birds. Supplementing these during the racing season reduces muscle damage per race and improves recovery rate. Inadequate hydration is a performance killer. A bird that arrives back dehydrated and doesn't drink enough before the next race starts that race already dehydrated. Dehydration of even 2% of body weight impairs performance significantly. Ensure birds always have access to clean, fresh, good-tasting water. After races, add electrolytes to encourage drinking and replace what was lost. Let's now discuss the psychological and behavioral factors that destroy performance. These are almost never discussed but are very real. Loft stress is a major factor. If your loft has ongoing aggression problems, constant fighting over perches, aggressive dominant birds terrorizing subordinate ones, the stress load on affected birds is enormous. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which suppresses immunity, impairs muscle recovery, disrupts sleep, and reduces training motivation. Stressed birds don't perform. They're spending physiological resources on managing chronic stress rather than on racing performance. Assess your loft's social dynamics. Separate genuinely aggressive birds. Ensure perch availability so subordinate birds aren't constantly displaced. Reduce overcrowding. Motivation problems affect some birds, particularly those with certain temperaments. Highly bonded pairs may be reluctant to leave the loft, prioritizing staying with their mate over racing. Some keepers use the widowhood racing system specifically to address this. In widowhood, cocks race to return to their hens who have been kept separate. The motivation to return to the mate drives maximum effort. The system exploits natural pair bonding for racing performance. Natural system and roundabout system use different motivational approaches. Understanding which system suits your bird's temperaments and managing accordingly makes a significant difference. Nest motivation is another psychological racing tool. Birds racing to return to eggs or small squabs are often highly motivated. Timing races to when birds have eggs or young squabs in the nest exploits parental instinct for performance. This requires careful calendar management to ensure pairs are at the right stage of the breeding cycle for important races. Training adequacy directly affects performance. Undertrained birds simply aren't physically conditioned for race distances. They have insufficient cardiovascular and muscular development. Training tosses should progressively increase in distance and frequency leading up to racing season. Don't jump from short training tosses to race distances. Build gradually. Overtrained birds are also a problem, though less discussed. Birds can be pushed too hard and too frequently in training, accumulating physical and psychological fatigue. Overtrained birds show declining enthusiasm, slower returns from training tosses, reduced appetite, and progressive performance decline despite continued training. Rest is as important as work. Plan rest periods into your training calendar. Every 3 to 4 weeks of training, give birds a week of reduced activity. This allows full recovery and often results in improved performance after the rest period. Navigation problems affect some birds independently of physical condition. Homing performance depends on the bird's ability to navigate using magnetic sense, sun compass, and familiar landmarks. Some birds have innate superior navigation ability. Others are mediocre navigators regardless of conditioning. Environmental factors can temporarily disrupt navigation. Solar storms affect the Earth's magnetic field and can confuse pigeon navigation. Unusual weather patterns, strong crosswinds, low visibility, all affect race performance beyond the bird's physical condition. Atmospheric pressure changes affect bird behavior. Many keepers track barometric pressure and notice that birds perform differently in different pressure conditions. Some birds are simply late developers. Yearlings racing for the first time often don't reach full performance until their second season when their bodies and navigational experience are fully mature. Don't write off a bird after one disappointing season if it's a first-year racer. Give it another season before making judgments. Let me share a comprehensive case. A racing Loft had their best cock, a proven multiple winner, performed terribly in the second half of the season. The first half he was excellent, top placements consistently. Then from mid-season on he was arriving with the back of the field. Physical examination showed nothing. Weight was fine. Feathers good. Eyes clear. The keeper was baffled. I conducted a systematic evaluation. First, I checked for subclinical infections with PCR testing. Negative for Mycoplasma and chlamydia. I examined fresh crop contents microscopically. Found Trichomonas organisms indicating subclinical canker. The keeper had done routine canker treatment before the season but hadn't retreated during the season. Trichomonas had re-established. We treated with ronidazole for 7 days. I also noticed that the bird had lost about 8% of its race weight since early season, suggesting nutritional deficit. I reviewed feeding protocol. The keeper had reduced protein in the diet mid-season thinking birds needed less protein once in race condition. This was wrong. Racing demands continuous high protein for muscle maintenance. We increased protein back to 20%. I checked the Loft. The bird was being bullied at the feeder by a more dominant bird, so it wasn't getting full feed access. We separated the bullying bird. 2 weeks after treatment, the cock returned to full training. His training toss returns improved immediately. In the remaining races of the season he placed top 5 3 times. Multiple problems had combined to collapse his performance. Subclinical canker, protein reduction, and social stress from bullying. Each alone might have caused minor performance degradation. Together they were catastrophic. Addressing all 3 restored performance. This case illustrates why a systematic diagnostic approach matters. You can't just guess at one cause and treat it. You need to systematically evaluate all potential factors. Here's your systematic approach to diagnosing performance collapse. First, rule out obvious health problems. Weigh the bird. Check eyes, nostrils, throat. Examine droppings. Check feathers. Basic health assessment. Second, test for subclinical infections. PCR testing for respiratory pathogens, microscopic examination for Trichomonas, fecal examination for parasites, Salmonella culture if indicated. Third, evaluate nutrition. Are you feeding adequate protein, energy, electrolytes for the racing demands? Review your feeding protocol and compare to optimal. Fourth, check blood if possible. Packed cell volume and iron levels reveal anemia. B12 levels can be checked. Fifth, evaluate Loft social dynamics. Is the bird getting adequate feed access? Is it being stressed by dominant birds? Sixth, assess training program. Is it adequate and progressive? Are races spaced for recovery? And seventh, consider psychological factors. Is the bird well motivated? What system are you using and does it suit this bird's temperament? Once you've identified the cause or causes, treat specifically. Don't just throw everything at the problem. Understand what's wrong and fix it precisely. If it's subclinical infection, treat the infection. If it's nutritional, fix the nutrition. If it's social stress, fix the social environment. Specific targeted fixes work better than non-specific general treatments. And track results. After each intervention, monitor whether performance improves. If it does, you've identified and fixed the problem. If not, continue investigating. Performance collapse is always caused by something real and identifiable. It's never truly mysterious even when it seems that way. The cause just hasn't been found yet. Systematic investigation finds it. The birds that build legendary reputations in racing lofts, the consistent performers year after year, aren't just genetically superior. They're managed by keepers who understand performance physiology, diagnose problems early and precisely, and fix them completely. That level of management is learnable. It requires knowledge, observation, and systematic thinking. Exactly what I'm teaching you to develop. If this video gives you a systematic approach to diagnosing performance problems you've been struggling to explain, share it. Performance collapse is universal in racing lofts but rarely addressed with this level of depth and specificity. Comment about performance problems you've experienced and what caused them. And subscribe to Pigeon Healthy for the advanced physiological and management knowledge that separates good keepers from great ones. Thank you for watching. Investigate systematically, fix precisely, and watch your champions perform as they're capable of performing.